government obviously are looking at things like the apprenticeship levy and the trailblazer schemes. Is that the first step towards this, or have they gone off in the wrong direction? I'm guessing, John, you have a view on this.
Well, having just had to explain the apprenticeship levy to my CEO last week and failing spectacularly.
You should have just told him it was a new tax.
Well, it is. I'm sorry. This is me speaking.
It's exactly what it is.
But it is a tax. You know, the money goes in. You don't know how you're going to get the money out. You don't know how much is going to be wasted on administration. I mean, I nearly had a hissy, or I did have a hissy fit, when my HR director explained to me that because I've got 2 plants in Wales, I'm paying apprenticeship levy on all of the salaries I pay in Wales, but the Welsh government have actually got zero idea how I can get any money out. It's just
same in Scotland, same in Northern Ireland.
You know, and again, we talked about this yesterday, John, at the CPA, didn't we? And it is completely murky.
I think the one, and I said this yesterday at the meeting, I think the one positive about the apprentice levy is it's really focused, particularly the merchants' attention on, if we're going to pay this levy, we need to start looking at apprenticeships, because there's no question the number of merchants that are either increasing the number of predominantly independents, who are either increasing the number of merchants that they're currently employing, or are looking, in one particular merchant's case, to double the number of apprentices next year that they're taking on. The positive aspect of this is it's really got people talking about apprenticeships, which I guess is
great.
You know, one of the things that the government was trying to do with this levy is really to say, look, we want to put 1 million apprentices out there. You as industry have got to drive this. It's not coming from us. It's got to be you that's doing this. And I can see that working in the merchant sector. Yes, we don't know the format. Yes, it's a tax. But I have to say, you know, I'm encouraged to see that the merchants are starting to get the message now that actually, yeah, we will take on young people, and we are prepared to invest a little bit. You know, we've taken on 2 downstairs, and it's one of the best commercial decisions I ever took. Now, I'm not saying that's because of the levy, but you'd be amazed how many companies in this industry that you think would have an apprentice don't have a single apprentice in their business.
I agree with you, John. It has raised the profile. I think anybody, just to put a note of caution on it, anybody that employs people on the basis they're going to get the funding from the levy is taking a huge risk.
Yeah.
Well, you don't.
But it is talking about it. I mean, we employ apprentices because we need apprentices. I need engineers that can come through and fix my machinery.
Yep.
But yeah, I wouldn't be employing apprentices on the basis that I might get some mythical funding from.
My concern with the levy itself is exactly that. I mean, how many people have taken apprentices on because they think they're going to offset some of their costs, and actually in 6-12 months' time, when they really start to understand how it's working, where you can dip in and get some funding for additional training on top of what you're paying, so you're still paying out that, will people continue to do that? I think it's great that we've raised the profile, but I think any business that's being run properly is bringing apprentices into their business because it's the right thing to do.
And just to be devil's advocate for a moment and take a slightly longer term view on that, technology clearly has got a part to play, and innovation. If you think back to the recent NMBS conference in Lanzarote, there's a guy stood up on stage and he did a presentation about 3D printing of houses. Okay, so in that environment, think about the impact on both the merchant, the manufacturer and the installation, right across the supply chain. You've got a software programmer designing a house that's built by a machine, that's delivered to site and assembled by unskilled operatives because it's merely an assembly program.
Still need a skilled electrician to wire it up.
Yeah, at the moment.
And hopefully a skilled plumber, hopefully a skilled.
If I'd have said to you 3 years ago, you can 3D print a house, you'd have laughed at me, as I laughed at the bloke in Lanzarote this time. But it's a reality today. They're building 48 houses in Egypt off that laser printer. It won't be long before they're laser printing electrics. So, you know, labour, training, apprenticeships, I wholeheartedly agree with it. As I said, I'm playing devil's advocate. At some point, they will be rendered useless.
No, they won't. It would just be a different skill set you need. Not rendered useless, you just need a different skill set. Because you still need somebody who
which is
can
probably
maintain
going to be
that
what John
3D
referred
concrete
to,
printer.
that sexy side of the market where somebody, that skill set is programming. Maybe.
And we've already talked about the fact we've got an ageing workforce in this country, and therefore, you know, if you bring an apprentice in at 16, 17, regardless of what that person's going to do when they're 20, 25, the fact is you're investing in the future. It doesn't matter what role that individual is brought in to do initially. So I disagree with that.
I'm not saying it's right. You did say I was playing devil's advocate. Just an alternative view of what the future might look like.
But with that ageing workforce, do we run the risk that if we don't deal with the lack of skilled people being trained and coming in now, if we do eventually as a country get to grips with it in sort of 5-10 years' time, we will already have lost a lot of those skills because those people will have left the workforce?
It goes to Andy's point. That's a business decision. You know, I've got people in my business, engineers that are approaching the end of their working life that know a lot about the plant because they've been there when it was built and everything else. So you employ people to work alongside them for 2 to 3 years,
That knowledge transfer.
to suck as much of that knowledge out of them as possible, and that's what you have to do. If your HR department isn't doing that, you've got the wrong HR department.
But that's running a good business. You have to keep succession planning coming through all the time. I think that the bigger is the fundamental still there. Where's all these people going to come to?
Yeah, I say, and that
Will be
also,
a new technology will be part of it, but it'll be whatever long term is going to be. But we do have a challenge. Yeah.
The other issue you've got is that young people now are not like young people before because they have many careers now. You know, they don't just have one career. We've got people 50-year service. You know, I'm proud in our business. We've got very, very, very good retention rates, long service. This isn't going to happen in the future.
No.
These kids are going to do a job for a couple of years and they're going to go somewhere else because that's what they do. So the business has to change how it has its apprenticeship programs, how it trains people, how it runs its plant, because you need much more transferable knowledge and skills throughout your whole workforce. You're perhaps going to have an apprentice that can do a couple of things and you're going to rotate them because they're going to go. You know, they're not going to stay for 40, 50 years in one company as they have done previously. So we need to get to grips with that as well.
Hopefully they're going to stay within the industry because there's a lot
Well,
of
they
that,
may not.
that knowledge transfer goes on within the industry.
You know, they reckon now young people will have two to three careers in their life.
Yeah.
You know, not just one career.
and isn't there also an issue in terms of looking specifically at tradespeople and the lack of skilled trades, that a lot of the trades are still small businesses. They're you know, the one-man bands. I'm thinking particularly in kind of things like plumbing and electricians rather than the big national companies. Obviously there are those as well, but it's a lot harder to do that kind of succession planning and things when you are a small business like that. So how do we keep those people coming through when people are leaving school and being encouraged to go to university and go on to further education as opposed to taking on a vocation?
I think it's about promoting the building colleges and things like that as well. It's getting those young people that at the age of 16 are making a decision: do they go to sixth form or do they go to a building college to start learning a skill? At the age of 18, are they going off to university or are they going into an apprenticeship in a building contracting company of some sort? That's back to an industry challenge that needs to be taken up to really drive that message forward at the career stage within the teachers.
And who within the industry needs to be kind of tasked with that? Because it's very easy for lots of companies to do their own sort of promotion, but do we not need a single industry-wide something to really raise it,
Well,
rather than lots of people doing something different?
It's like John was saying, the trade federations, depending on what the trade is, needs to be the driving force for us as suppliers, manufacturers to develop that. So for us it would be like the British Woodworking Federation or something like that.
Yeah.
They've got to be the leads, because it's important that the apprenticeships running alongside the business needs. So you can bring a young person in, but if the apprenticeship schemes are not there to help train them, that becomes quite a problem. You can only do so much in-house. You need to have the mirroring together.
So you've got the Federation of Master Builders,
and all
National
together.
Federation of Roofing Contractors, all the different sectors have got those trade associations that need to be driving their individual sectors.
And I associate myself with those, and many of them are doing that. It's not that it's not being done, because it is being done.
But I think that the apprenticeship levy has sort of kick-start that momentum probably more than it was prior to it being announced.
But it's the teachers. We've got to get the message across to the teachers. I mean, City of London do a skills fair where they bring all the city schools in, and the Worshipful Company attend that. And I wish I'd brought the booklet with me now, where we've got a book of comments that the kids made about what is a builder's merchant was the question we asked them. And it was all sorts of weird and wonderful. and actually, the teachers didn't know what a builder's merchant was either. So actually there's still a huge marketing job we as an industry have got to do to the teachers, because the teachers are the ones that are influencing the kids' decisions at the end of the day. You know, all the stuff we're talking about is going to the colleges, going to trade fairs, career fairs, and that is great, but those teachers are with those kids more time than anybody else, probably more time than their parents in a lot of cases, so they're the ones that are influencing their decisions.
I think that's just saying here, leading from the top of the government down, for right beside us we have there's a bricklaying college training future bricklayers, and the guy leading it, you wouldn't give him a job. So the man aspiring or potential bricklayers, you wouldn't give them a job, because we have a business where we do a lot of brick slipping, and we've about 20 men now employed cutting and slipping bricks, and we were saying, right, train them, and we'll take 10 on tomorrow, we'll give them jobs. But the kids who are in that college, they're only in it because it's the last chance saloon type thing, but the man leading it is equally as despondent about the whole thing as well. And this is the person, he's been funded as a government, somebody's not driving him and measuring his performance rate of qualification, what's his accreditation of getting people through his system. So it's a poor outlook. They got the buildings there, the structure's there, but now it's the leadership within that and attracting a better quality of young person who wants to be a bricklayer, and that's certainly a big concern now. Yeah.
What I was going to say is that, picking up from your comment, Andy, that one of the purposes behind BMBI is that actually it gets out and it becomes a channel to actually inform people about, raise awareness and the understanding, so people actually have a clue what builders merchants are doing, and you've got this whole business and how things get built and repaired and maintained and so on. So it's a long task, but I think that's that set of comments from people, people really didn't know, and I think that just confirms it. I mean, we knew that anyway, but
I quite like to see that, Andy, because I think that's the sort of thing that should be shared with the BMF, which hasn't been. So I'd quite like to see that, because I think that's the sort of thing.
Richard's seen it, so the BMF have
the sort of thing we can use in our promotional material. So I'll take that up with Richard.